So, after Tennessee, I moved back to California to help take care of my grandma. So, I got back to California and I tried to be incognito and just get a job at Subway and work there. I worked there for about a month. And there was a situation, like many situations in the workplace that I encounter, where I get treated unfairly. So I was at this job at Subway, and I did all the work. And in downtime, after lunch rushes, people would stand around, snack on the bar, while I cleaned the dishes, swept the floor, cleaned the lobby, all that. One time, I asked my team nicely, can you guys help me? They all got angry. They all got mad on their face, and it was about the next day that they told my boss that I was hostile. So, me and my boss had to sit down, and I told her what happened. I said, go watch the cameras. I do all the work here. And I asked them one time to help me, and they turned around and said that I was hostile. And there was other people micromanaging me, and I didn't really care for that as well. So, my boss tried to reprimand me, trying to say we are all a team, we need to act like one, and I said, go watch the cameras, we are not a team, I do everything. And she fired me. I got fired over that, of course. Well, on my final paycheck, there was 2 different 666s, and this is about the 12th time that number had been following me around. So there was that. And then I just decided, screw it. So I took some time off work to calibrate because fuck my life. And let's see. So when I got back to California, I took great care of my grandmother because she is very near and dear to my heart. My grandmother told me about our ancestry from the Hatfields, and that's when she told me about that. My grandmother also loved to collect Native American stuff and American flag stuff. She was very patriotic. The only problem is that she was a Trump supporter instead of a me supporter. But of course, because I sound completely crazy when I talk about my story, even though I'm not. So, there was that, and I also started, last year was when I actually started putting all the dots together. Last year was when I found out that I was in the root chakra of the world. That's when I found out that there was an article written about the Walmart I worked at being built on a Native American burial ground. That was also when I started connecting the dots between me and Nikola Tesla. That was also the time where I came out about Trump, and I made my first YouTube video on my birthday last year about my story. I had kept my silence the entire time, and that's when a lot of stuff started. And that was also when I wrote my first presidential speech in honor of Martin Luther King Day. I was still going through heavy spiritual phenomena. I did try to go to church. And I did 3 church services and 3 Bible studies in the women's group. And on the 3rd visit of church, see, when I went to church, it didn't feel right to me. And I also noticed that at that church and at every other church that I had been to since then was using me for themselves. And I knew this. There was just a little bit too much synchronicity between everything and me. So I never felt easy in church. It just felt off. Well, the 3rd time I went, something told me that I needed to leave and go home. So I did. And I saw my grandmother there in bed gasping for air. Her oxygen had come off her face and was on the floor and she couldn't get it. I was only gone for 30 minutes and she was fine when I left. But something told me to leave and go home, and I did, and I was there for my grandma. At Bible study, there was also, um, I tried reading the Bible, and it triggers me too bad. I do not like reading the Bible. I also don't like the whole culture of everything. So that didn't last long, but 3 times, even though I did try. Um, so there was that, and um, so I also started studying human rights, and I made flyers for the United Nations World Food Program to help with world hunger. I made my flyers and I posted them all over town, and I posted on Facebook, and it was about 2, 3 weeks after that that the United Nations had challenged Elon Musk to addressing the world hunger problem, and that whole thing went on. Um, and I've had a lot of visions. Like I said, my precognition, I get visions and I hear things before they happen quite often. I'm talking on a daily basis. And there was one in particular, um, with Queen Elizabeth. So I was talking about Europe at the time, and something told me don't kiss the Queen's ass. And it was 2 days later that I had a vision of Queen Elizabeth in my head smiling at me. And the next day she had passed away. Rest her soul. That was also when I had a vision of the Dalai Lama. I had a vision of him looking very sad, and I Googled him and found out that 2 days prior he had told a kid to suck his tongue and had to apologize to the world. And the article of him apologizing was written 2 hours before I had my vision. So those are examples of my precognition where I just get things that come to me and then they get verified at the time or a little bit after that. Lots of different things. Lots. So there was also a time where I was dreaming. I was sleeping and I was being possessed in my sleep. Something was trying to snatch my soul. I was levitating in the air and I could feel my soul coming out of my body. I could feel it in my sleep. And I got shocked with electricity. The first one didn't wake me up. I continued my dream. He continued to keep trying to possess me. And I got a second shock of electricity up here and aside from my dream. And I woke up in excruciating pain. So much pain that I couldn't even dial 911. And went to my doctors the next day and telling them that I need medical treatment. I need an MRI. And they flat out denied me. And I threw a fit about it. And they said, we can't see you anymore. And I said, well, I'll sue you for malpractice and neglect. And they laughed at me. And yeah, so there was that. And then there was also the goose experience. I'll end it with the goose experience. So I like to dance, I like to drink, and I like to dance. And I was dancing in the front yard one day, and I had my headphones in on full blast. The world was dead to me. And I heard something in the back right of my brain say, hello! And I turn around, and there's nothing there. I take my headphones out, and there's a goose in my neighbor's tree, directly behind me, squawking. And I'm like, you gotta be kidding me. So I put my headphones back in, trying to brush it off because I've had so much crazy stuff happen to me that it's normal to me now. And so I try to go back to dancing, and 10 seconds later, I'm like, wait, I just heard this goose telepathically talk to me. So I take my headphones out again, and it was already flying away in the sky. But I telepathically heard that goose say hello to me. With my headphones in on full blast, not being able to hear anything, I heard it in my head, and it was directly 5 feet behind me where I heard it from in my head. So there was that. And I ended up having to leave California and come back to Reno. Before I came back to Reno, I was hearing in my head hotel. I was hearing hotel over and over in my head for about a week. And I called my ex-landlord saying I needed to come back to Reno, and she says, I got a place for you. And I moved back to Reno, and here I am in a hotel built in 1916 in Reno. And here I am back in Reno.